Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ben Talks About. I'm of course your host, Ben Contreras. Now, the topic of anime is something that I've mentioned quite frequently on this channel, and it's definitely a topic that I would like to cover more in the future. However, as of recently, there have been two major anime news that I personally consider major, and the, whether or not it's really news is up for debate because since we've known this for quite a while now. And the first one is good. The thing I want to talk about is more rantish compared to the second topic. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way first. And that is concerning the legendary anime film studio that is Studio Ghibli. Ever since their debut with their film Castle in the Sky, it made directors like Hayao Miyazaki into the icons that they were back then and still considered to be to this day. And they have been a series of films that we, for the longest time, have been trying our best to find the most optimal way of watching them. And right now, the most optimal is probably getting the DVD or Blu-ray combo packs that you could find at places like Target, Walmart, or Best Buy. However, for those of you who are not as much of a fan of physical media and prefer streaming services, we actually do have a service that has gotten the rights to quite the majority of Studio Ghibli's lineup, and that streaming service is HBO Max. And I thought to myself, really? Like, that's the one that gets almost every one of these classic films? I was more expecting anything else, I guess. I mean, I'm sure HBO Max does have its group of people who do support it, and that's perfectly fine. But I just feel like out of all the streaming services that people tend to use a whole lot more, I feel like HBO Max is one of the more oddballs to get all of these films. I mean, after all, wasn't Disney the one who had the distribution rights to a majority of the films like Princess Mononoke and all these other films that we managed to get really great English dubs for in the West? So wouldn't you think it'd make more sense for them to get the rights to distribute these films for their streaming service, Disney Plus? But this whole concept of streaming services is a rant that I could go on for quite a while now. I just wish that there was at least one site in particular where you could just find all of these type of films and us not having to live in this world where it seems like every sort of company needs to have their own streaming service for certain things, so they don't have to pay rights to one specific corporation. I mean, after all, I remember back when the only streaming service at the time was Netflix, and you could watch any sort of TV shows or movies on there in any way you want to. But nowadays, it feels like everything's been split a whole lot more into different groups. And for some other films, you might be thinking, Netflix actually does have the rights to a lot of the Studio Ghibli films. Well, that is technically true. It is only for Netflix UK. It's not for any Netflix service outside that's in, the Americas, which I feel like is kind of not fair, more or less because you're basically required to have to use one of those VPN things in order to change the region that your internet is in so that you're able to actually watch these films outside of America, which, like I said, I don't think is really that fair. So, for the most optimal way, in my opinion, to actually watch these films is to just go ahead and get the DVDs or Blu-rays for them. They're much easier to get, and you won't have regrets buying them. But, not everything concerning anime recently has been too bad, and luckily for you, this anime in particular is actually one that you're able to watch on quite a few streaming services, and that is the series that I've actually talked about on this channel before, that being Attack on Titan. And it has actually recently been announced that the 4th season of Attack on Titan is actually going to be the series finale of the Attack on Titan franchise. Now, I feel like this series in particular, Attack on Titan, is one that people have is the type of series that when it first started, it was absolutely huge. Like, you couldn't go a few feet in, anime-related places without someone mentioning Attack on Titan. When it first came out in when it was first made as a manga in 2009 and then got an anime adaptation a few years later, it was a big thing, the fact that, people were still anticipating the release of season 2 even if it took several more years between that and the end of season 1 for us to get a season 2 and people were still hyped up about it, that sort of goes to show the sort of impact that the series has had. But I feel like afterwards, after season 2 finally came out, they released, season 3, and people started to watch it, and then season 4, suddenly comes out, and it's going to be the series finale. Now, I haven't personally, rewatched Attack on Titan in quite a while. The last thing that I actually saw of it was, the end of the first season, so I still need to catch up with 2, and as well as 3, and all that stuff. The fact that I've gotten more progress in the game that is based on than the actual series is kind of, is kind of odd in that sort of way. But I feel like the series no longer has the sort of hype that it had back then, and I feel like that's because that was almost because the fact that the seasons were so, the first 2 seasons were so far away from each other in terms of releasing, because season 3 didn't really take much longer to come back after season 2 was out, and people watched it, people enjoyed it, but I feel like the hype wasn't as huge because it was released so early. Now, I'm not really saying that they should have waited as long as they did to release season 2, that's not what I'm saying at all. I just feel like the series sort of lost its sort of, the sort of punch that it had in terms of people getting hyped up over it, because I haven't really found that many anime related videos really talking about this series in terms of what's happened later on, and I feel like one of the reasons is because the manga itself has been out for a while now, and the manga is of course way ahead of the anime, so people who will really want to see what happens in the next part of the story, they can just go ahead and read the manga, but then that sort of results in them not being as, surprised when certain twists in the seasons, appear, and stuff like that. But, the main thing is that this is supposedly going to be the season finale of this specific story. Now, do I feel like this will be the end of Attack on Titan as an anime in general? I personally think it might be. However, there are still several, different stories in the Attack on Titan universe that have still been yet to be made into anime adaptations. I mean, there were still, there was the main, story, which is of the, these 4 seasons, and then we also got those independent, sort of OVA mini-stories that we saw. There was also that spin-off parody series, Attack on Titan Junior High, but the one that I would like to see the most out of all of them would be this one right here, which is called Attack on Titan Before the Fall, which is a sort of prequel story to the first season of Attack on Titan, where, it stars a completely different cast of characters with, a different storyline, which is, the manga is not, well, it's not as big as the main story. There are still several volumes of it, and this is definitely one that I want to get more of and eventually make a series where I actually talk about it, because what I've read of the first volume I actually really enjoyed, and I would like to see what sort of, changes or how well it would adapt it if it was made into an anime, adaptation. And, there's still, other things that the series can be adapted to. Like I said, the video games have been really good lately, and they recently came out with that one DLC for the second game, the one where you're actually able to play as an avatar character. But this one goes through all of the third season, and I'm not quite sure how well the extra content holds up compared to the rest of the game. But there's still that came out. There's also, of course, many other stories they could probably tell within the series. But yeah, if this were to be the finale of the main series, I would love them to next up make a anime adaptation of Attack on Titan Before the Fall, because then I feel like people would be able to get interested in this story, because I feel like compared to compared to the original manga, this one isn't as big as the main series, but I feel like if it was adapted into something that people are more, that is more of a universal thing compared to a more, you know, reserved thing like the mangas are, I feel like that could get people more and more interested in this story and want to actually pick all of these up. But yeah, like I said, season 4 is going to be supposedly going to be the main series as far as I'm aware, and I am definitely excited to take a look at that, and as well as rewatch all the other parts of the series that I need to catch up on. And whether or not you're going to, let me know in the comment section down below. And and I think that's gonna wrap up this video. I actually had a lot of fun talking about these. And like I said, you know, anime is a sort of topic that I've been wanting to get more into for quite a while now, and it's something that I would like to cover more and more in the future, because there are lots of things that I would like to talk about, whether it be by myself or with, of course, our great camera person, my mom over there, who's over right behind in the camera. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until I see you all next time, I'm Ben Contreras, and bye.